Welcome back, guys. Today what I wanted to talk about is pretty simple. Today what I wanted to talk about is ways to basically farm trade crystals in Anime Vanguards, but in the future. Okay, so I wanted to discuss, possibly theorize about best ways on how the Anime Vanguard developers could add a way to farm trade crystals to most people, because right now a lot of people see that as a problem. So this is going to be a yap session. So without further ado, let's get this video started. So in my opinion, there's actually three ways or a few ways on how they could add a possible trade crystal farm in Anime Vanguards. But before we get to that, I first want to yap about how the trade crystal system works in Anime Vanguards. So first and foremost, how trade crystals work in Anime Vanguards is actually pretty interesting. So a lot of people say it's pay to win. I wouldn't argue it's pay to win, because for now there is no tournament yet in Anime Vanguard, so there's really no form of PvP or player versus player content in Anime Vanguards yet. Like, yes, leaderboards do exist, but it's really not that bad just yet. However, when tournament gets added, it definitely will be pay to win, but as it currently stands, it's not as pay to win. And also on top of this, Anime Vanguard traits are actually pretty balanced, because Monarch isn't even actually the best trait for most of the units. Ethereal is actually DPS wise better than most of the traits, even Monarch in Infinite, at least in Infinite. So a lot of people will disagree and say Monarch is better because it's 100% plus 300%. That's not how it works. How Monarch works in this game, and the developers did confirm it, is it's basically just 300% damage. So it's equivalent to 3 units, right? So most units are 3 placement. So if you have an Ethereal on most units, it will out DPS a Monarch by quite a bit in Infinite. So it's actually quite balanced. A Monarch is actually quite balanced. However, it is kind of pay to get Monarch. It's not really pay to win. It's pay to get Monarch, because a lot of people do want to get Monarch, even though it's not really the best trait in the game. But again, it is very balanced. It's not unlike, AnimeDefenders, where most of the secrets are 2 placements. That's why you need Almighty. Here, no, that's not the case. Here, most of the units are 3 placements, so you need Ethereal. And Monarch is very useful in other game modes, but in terms of leaderboard, which is the only player versus player content right now, you need Ethereal, or Ethereal could be better. Monarch could also still be better, but Ethereal has a fighting chance. Like, it's not completely useless in leaderboards. So that's actually very good in my opinion. So now, with that out of the way, let's talk about Anime Vanguard's traits. In my opinion, Anime Vanguard is actually quite generous with how they give traits. Definitely way more generous than Anime Adventures. When I first played Anime Adventures was so stingy with trait crystals that you're really forced to just buy them. But I don't feel the same way with Anime Vanguards. They're definitely way more lenient with codes. Apart from codes, you're also way more lenient with quests and other game modes that drop trait crystals. So with that out of the way, Anime Vanguards isn't really as pay to win as a lot of people say. Yes, it's pay to get Monarch or pay to get Strong, because in some other game modes, Monarch is better. And the best unit, Alucard, is literally locked behind, luck. But it is not as pay to win as people say it is. So for new ways that they could add trait crystals, I think they should add it, number 1, to the highest waves of Paragon. And what I mean by the highest waves of Paragon is Paragon stages that are over 100. Now, the reason why I say Paragon stages that are over 100 is because Paragon is very hard to AFK. It can still be easily AFK farmable, but for most people, they won't be able to AFK farm on Paragon stages without outright hacking. Now, there are people that can still, AFK farm Paragon, but for most people, it's not easy to AFK farm this game mode, because number 1, it's hard, and number 2, there's so many things that you have to do per Paragon game mode that it's really hard to macro. So for example, maybe once you reach higher floors or higher waves, like for example wave 100, then at wave 100 you can then pick your specific challenges that you want to. Maybe you can have tries and blah 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 blah. But at wave 100 of Paragon stages, what it should do is there should be a chance to drop trait crystals. Just 1 trait crystal. I think a 5% chance to drop 1 trait crystal is good. I think this is gonna make it so that it's farmable without it being too easy to get, because I think 5% chance is low enough where people can farm it, but people won't be able to have thousands and thousands of trait crystals like how it is in Anime Last Stand and in other games like AnimeDefenders, where it's so easy to get these trait crystals. Because again, if it's easier to get trait crystals, more people will have to grind in order to compete. The grind will be higher in order for more people to compete. So I think trait crystals being still hard to get and balance will be better for most people. And again, I'm gonna tell you this right now, Ethereal is competitive with Monarch. You don't really need Monarch that much in order to become super overpowered. You don't. Just getting Ethereal can allow you to pretty much complete everything. You don't even need Ethereal to complete any game mode. Okay, this game is not really as hard as some people are saying. And the hardest game mode, which is the Igris boss area, is actually easily farmable, or you can even use traits in that game mode. So it doesn't really matter. So this game is not as pay to win as most people are saying, but I think it does need to add ways to farm trait crystals, because without ways to farm trait crystals, I think it is kind of boring, like there's nothing to do. But in my opinion, adding it to paragon stages will definitely be very cool. Like maybe a 3% chance to drop at wave 100 plus will definitely be good. Or apart from paragon stages, they can also did it how Anime Royale did it. So how Anime Royale did it is you can basically you have portals. So how Anime Royale did it is portals in that game mode has a 100% chance to drop trait crystals. So maybe how Anime Vanguards could do it is the higher tiers of portals like legendary or mythical portals will have a higher chance of dropping trait crystals, and then they're going to be so hard that you can't do it solo. How Anime Royale does it is it's literally going to take you 25 minutes to finish a single portal, and it's going to be so hard to finish a single portal. It's gonna be so hard to finish a single portal that you just literally can't do it alone, and it will take you even 30 minutes to do it with other people. So I think having a game mode that's so hard you need to do it with other people will encourage players to play together, and I think a game mode that is that hard should drop trait crystals, in my opinion. And so maybe that game mode could have a 40%, 50% chance of dropping trait crystals, and I think that's gonna be very good for most people. Now again, before I end this video, a lot of people might say, well, AnimeDefenders didn't drop that many trait crystals and people still love AnimeDefenders. Let's be honest here, AnimeDefenders is probably the single most pay-to-win game to ever grace Roblox, period. It is most definitely still one of the best tower defense games, although I think Anime Vanguard is on a path to probably be better than AnimeDefenders, in my opinion. So if AnimeDefenders didn't really give that much trait crystals, you can't really expect the newer tower defense games to be compared to AnimeDefenders, because again, AnimeDefenders was pay to win. Okay, it was definitely pay to win, or if it's not pay to win, it's pay to get strong, because unique is absolutely the strongest trait in that game. There were also tournaments, which is definitely pay to win, because you actually need unique to compete in tournaments. You could place high in tournaments in AnimeDefenders without unique, but as far as I know and as far as I remember, you do having the best traits will allow you definitely to get high, to place high in tournaments. And on top of that, trait crystals is so hard to get in that game that it makes it so that you're literally almost forced to buy trait crystals if you want to be able to compete. So I think newer tower defense games shouldn't be held to the same standard as AnimeDefenders. Like if AnimeDefenders, didn't really drop that many trait crystals, you shouldn't compare the newer tower defense games to that, because AnimeDefenders was so pay to win, and it was the only game at the time. So people had no choice but to play AnimeDefenders. And AnimeDefenders is a great game, don't get me wrong, but let's be honest, it's just so pay to win. It's insanely pay to win. So newer tower defense games can't be held to the same standard that AnimeDefenders was held, because if you do that, then people are gonna call your game pay to win. And on top of that, there's so many tower defense games right now that if you decide to make your game pay to win, you probably will lose some players. But thankfully, Anime Vanguards is not pay to win. It's the most balanced tower defense game out there, and they are very generous with their traits, and their traits are also very balanced. Ethereal being probably a higher DPS trait than Monarch in some cases, which makes it super balanced and super cool. Anyways, that's gonna be it for today's video. Those are the two ways I can see them adding trait crystals. Number one, paragon stages at higher stages at 100 plus, and also portals. And then the last bonus one that I can mention is going to be adding additional quests, like for example damage quests or killing quests that people can do in order to get more trait crystals. And then since Anime Vanguards updates bi-weekly, then you can maybe reset those quests after each update so people can have stuff to farm, you know, after every single update without giving them too much trait crystals. So yeah, that's gonna be it for today's video. If you guys enjoyed it, this was a yap session, which I did say in the beginning. I just wanted to talk about how trait crystals should get added or could get added. But yeah, that's it for today's video, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out, everybody.